I ask for the truth on behalf of Cody Hes concerning relationship issues. At a crossroads right now, and I ask this in the name of truth, right conduct, peace, love and non-violence. Blessed be to the truth always. And we just cut the deck for you there, Cody. Where the deck splits is where it's thought to be at its most energetic point, of course, isn't it? Let's just place the cards over to the side here, and we'll deal out 3 cards for you. We'll deal out 3 cards. The first card represents the past. This is the recent past, but between now and this time last month, around about 3 or 4 weeks or so ago. It's a new moon now, isn't it? So it'll be between now and the last new moon. So I suppose that's easy to sort of work out, isn't it? The next card is representative of your present. So we just place that next to that there. And then finally, your immediate future, of course, that'll be between now and the next new moon. The recent past was the last one, that'll be the next one. So I suppose, really, that's easy enough to work out. Oh, let me just try and align that crystal there, just so everything's ship-shape in Bristol. Sorry about that. You have to have your moments, don't you? Let's just settle down now and let's see what's been going on in this relationship situation that you're in. I got a feeling as though, when I looked at the photograph there, maybe, of course, other than the way you were standing, when viewed the photograph at a distance, you could sort of see a face, the eye was sort of on your neckline, and the neckline of the face was on your arm, your left arm, and sort of like your head bent down there was like the hairline. But with me having a visual impairment, you do tend to see things that sometimes aren't there, and I did sort of lock onto that. Maybe if everybody stood like that in a photograph, we could see the face of like a dead relative or something like that, maybe. Anyway, that's the fun over with. Let's just settle down now to the reading there. The first card represents your recent past. It represents you and your relationship, doesn't it? Your relationship in the recent past. So we can just flip that over like so to reveal the Hierophant or the High Priest. This card represents occult knowledge. It can represent religion or anything really. It could represent your dealings with religion or the occult, hidden knowledge. Occult just means hidden, doesn't it? So it's hidden. Your dealings with it. Seeking guidance from it or whatever through it, maybe. Of course, it can symbolise magic, I suppose, in the sense if you've been using magic in some respect or other, I don't know. But either way, why I was sort of thinking, I had a thought, you shouldn't have them because, of course, you start smelling burning rubber and things like that. But laughing and joking apart there, why I was sort of thinking as though one of your partners was religious or you were religious and there was a clash of belief systems going on. Of course, looking at the darkness in the background there, I sort of see the darkness as if that could be symbolic of the darkness in your relationship in the recent past, between now and this time last month, between now and the last new moon, or of course between the past 3 or 4 weeks or so. Just just implying that. The beard of the Hierophant there, as I suppose, symbolises wisdom, because it takes a long time to grow in that respect. So it symbolises that, doesn't it, to some degree. There are other sort of symbols on here that you can go into great detail of it, but just looking at the card and thinking about the question you've asked, certainly see the darkness in the background there, as though there is darkness, or there has been, as you would say, because we're talking past tense. We're talking past tense, so as though there has been darkness. A clash of belief systems. Maybe you believe in tarot reading, like we're doing now, of course, and he didn't, and accused you of being evil. Or why also, when I looked at the photograph of you there on the Facebook in the group there, the free tarot readings group, the Facebook group, why did I sort of see somebody who was being treated a bit like a doormat or something? Somebody who may have been, I don't know, certainly physically abused, but somebody who either was on the verge of psychological in that sense, and he was getting at you, and it was sort of like the cusp of, or the beginning of, and you chose to do the right thing. And maybe your spirit guides, if you see them, or somebody else has warned you about this, maybe, I don't know. But either way, I've still got this clash of belief systems, yet it's the occult or spirit that has been there helping you. I got a funny feeling as though there's that as well. Maybe a spirit guide, or the spirit of a soul in the Summerlands, you know, a dead relative, maybe, or friend, or whoever, somebody close who's been there trying to shine a light on for you. Or it could, of course, just simply represent your higher self, the higher occult self, the higher you, on the true you on the astral plane, in that sense, tuning into yourself and using your, although we call it intuition, are we tuning into our higher I couldn't say that then, put your teeth in. Are we tuning into our higher self? Listening to the inner voice, I think, really, from a realistic, pragmatic sort of point of view, we could deduct for that, couldn't we? I want to move on now to the present, to see what is happening now, because regardless of what happened then, we have to focus on what's happening now. This will be, of course, the effect of what has happened then, as well as maybe the cause of what happens next. So you're living in a double whammy at the minute. We all are, aren't we? But we're all living in the now, and now only exists, and look at that. Because I also want to say something here in just a moment. You've got the two of discs, or the two of coins, or the two of pentacles, as is often known. Crowley, in this case, calls the two of discs the Lord of Change. Now, I want you to know this focus on here. There's a difference between these two cards. This card here, this energy here, and this energy here. The first card in your recent past is a major arcana card, whereas the two of discs is a minor arcana card. In the sense of course, a major situation, or a major part of the situation that you're in, that you've been in and that you are in now, the major part of it, or a major part of it happened then, between now and the last new moon. That's when the major part of it happened. Now, of course, a major energy means, major arcana energy means you've got no control over it. You can't, it's like a permanent fixture, you can't do anything with it. Doesn't necessarily mean, or not all major arcana cards are bad or they're all good. But, you know, some of them are, you know, yin and yang, it's positive, negative, this and that, up and down, whatever. But in this particular case, of course, it's like a more spiritual, neutral thing. You had no choice where spirit was intervening. Maybe spirit was intervening because it had to do to help you out, to protect you because of a higher purpose, maybe. But you certainly didn't have any say. In some decks, the Hierophant is Jupiter, isn't it? The High Priestess is Jupiter, symbolising, of course, like contentment or whatever, being in a content situation, being sort of happy with one's position. But I don't feel as though you were. I sort of feel as though there's been a clash because of the darkness there. I'm looking onto that, the darkness in the background of the situation, regardless of what's going on now. There's something like dark going on, in the sense of now is sort of then, in a sense, what's going on or what was going on then. There's nevertheless a darker side to it, and it was in the background, and it was, because your back was turned to it, you couldn't see it. But nevertheless, spirit could, and you knew it was there regardless of. You knew there was darkness there, because the light that shined on you shined at you, and you knew that it was shining into the darkness. And of course, through the corridors of time, that darkness, the light fades, doesn't it? But why I'm still locking onto this, I don't know. But of course, that's a major situation in your life. In this situation, when we've got this other card revealed here, when we've flipped that, we can then go through all of them, sort of like to get all of them together. But the next card, which is now, of course, the Two of Discs, that the Lord of Change, that is a minor arcana energy, which means you have power to change what's going on. You've got power over it. We always, I suppose, do have power over the future, which is now, but sometimes we don't. If we are the ones, or if there are forces beyond our control intervening, as you would say, then we can only adapt to it. We can't have power over it, we can adapt to it. We can shapeshift with it and change our mannerisms or change the way we dress or the way we act towards others, in that sense, mannerisms or whatever we can do, and we can adapt. Maybe that's what you've had to do, is adapt from a spiritual point of view as well, and from an higher level of soul, even, maybe. And maybe you were relying on religion or something, saying your prayers, please, Lord, or whatever God it is you pray to, of course. Please, Lord, just tell him to leave me alone, or I don't know, or tell him to lay off, back off, or something, I don't know. But now, of course, you do have power to change it, and not only that, it's the Lord of Change himself there. Then notice the serpent there around the two discs, the yin and the yang, which is the yes and the no, the up and the down, male and female, the this and the that. Shall we go on? The light and the darkness. The serpent, of course, has power, in a sense, change with the serpent, because he sheds his skin, doesn't he? And regenerates to some degree there. Of course, with a lot of change, just like a serpent, it can have a very nasty bite, can't it? And that may be what's going on now. Maybe change right now. The Lord of Change is having a nasty bite. And nevertheless, the serpent wears a crown. So he does have power in some respects. And maybe a sly and subtle approach is needed right now to sort of just get you through this. Just staying in the background, remain sort of inconspicuous, and just do what you've got to do until you're out of there, or until the job is done, or whatever. From a relationship point of view, of course, yes, things are changing. When I looked at the photograph of you, okay, it's somebody looking down doing something, I don't know what it was, but I just got this sort of feeling as though, not naive, what's the word, sort of, well, everybody's vulnerable, aren't they, but you sort of, it's sort of like as if, you were like saying, yeah, okay, but you didn't actually say it, but, you know, yeah, okay, you know, get out of the way. But I don't know, as if, as if you were being, I'm not supposed to be being controlled, but certainly you wanted this relationship that you were in. I say were in. This relationship that you were in, or this relationship that's certainly on closing down, you wanted this relationship to be a deeper spiritual one. Now, there's two ways of viewing this here on the deeper spiritual level. It can be the fact that you wanted the relationship to be on a deeper level, or was it that he was a religious maniac and driving you around the band? There's two ways of viewing that. I sort of thought that originally. Is this a religious maniac who's just driving you around the band and saying, "No, for God's sake, I want to play with the Ouija board, let me." You know, if I wanted to shuffle tarot cards, let me do it, just for God's sake, leave me alone. It's affecting you more than it is me. It's possessing you more than it is me. But then again, I sort of then came to the point, well, if that was the case, I somehow think it's you here who did want a more spiritual, the light shone on you, you wanted a more spiritual, content relationship, which maybe you did do, maybe you did have, of course you did, between now and this time, the last new moon, but the darkness in the background was always there. You just had your back to it, you didn't see it. And isn't that just such a shame when we know that with darkness there is light, or with the light that shines, with the light of realization, you know that there is the ignorance of darkness, or the darkness of ignorance, or whatever you want to call it, there as well. And with the change having a nasty bite right now, I somehow sense the nasty biteness of it. There's such a thing as nasty biteness. There is now, because I made it up. I make loads of words up, you know. I have to write my own dictionary, I think. Oh! I want to move on now to the immediate future. Let's see what's vibrating there. This will be very enlightening, this will, to see what's about to happen between now and the next new moon. Remember, of course, with it being a new moon, you can quickly probably cleanse your crystals, or not about banishing, but certainly we can do some cleansing, initiate some magic, of course. Maybe with it being so close to Valentine's Day, it has some significance to that degree, doesn't it? And let's just see what this one is. And you've got there the Four of Cups, the Lord of Luxury. Whatever's all that about? The Lord of Luxury. straight away I'm looking at that card. I don't know if you can see this. Just take a look at that. I don't know if you can just see that there. I can see sort of like black clouds, or it's black and clouded above there. Regardless of if it is luxury, just assume the literal sense of luxury to that regard. Nevertheless, in the midst of luxury, of having all that we need, there is nevertheless a black cloud hanging over it. I just saw that, I don't know why. The 4, of course, has 2, with the 2 of coins. 2 is air, isn't it? So that's the only number between the numbers 2 and 3 are to do with the element of air. So that's, you could say, that's the airy part of Earth, because coins or discs is Earth. Creative and transmissive powers of the physical vehicle, as if the physical is communicating. Maybe that's the change. Whereas here, notice you've got the 4 of cups. Cups has to do with water. Water, of course, is thought to do with time, because it flows like time. And of course it's to do with feelings, isn't it, as well? Because it's supposed to flow like feelings. Time is the healer. And 4, the numbers 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9, the numbers 4 to 9, they are to do with the element of water. So you could say the watery part of water in that literal sense, couldn't you? Mental and moral qualities of mental and moral qualities, maybe. But 4 is a square number, isn't it? Like this has 4 sides to it and whatever. Which a squaring out of emotions, of feelings. Maybe that's what the luxury is. Maybe you don't have to be rich and have lots of money to live in luxury. Maybe luxury just relies upon feeling good and feeling content or balanced. Notice the content we mentioned about Jupiter, the high priest, the Hierophant, or sometimes he's called the Pope. And of course, maybe from the desire for contentment on a higher level, just recently, you will get contentment, but on an emotional level. Maybe you were looking too far or too deeply. Maybe you wanted to satisfy your spiritual side and knew you couldn't do it, but you could now. You can, in the immediate future, satisfy your emotional, satisfy your feelings in some way, balance them out, sort of level them off or whatever, square them out, as you could say. We could say that, couldn't we? What's this? I don't know if you noticed, I did say about the black cloud hanging over it. Nevertheless, in the midst, but I suppose in the midst of life we are in death. In the sense, in the midst of luxury, there is a black cloud that hangs over it. What's that about? Why did I lock onto that? Maybe because there's light below in some way, or what? I don't know. But I'm just getting this framework. Why I'm thinking of the framework there, as if there's a framework to your emotions. There's something there that's holding it all together, and that's, I suppose, pull yourself together, but holding things together. Things will be held together for now, before the loss of the 5, the analysis of the 6, the weakness of the 7, and then the challenge of the 8, before the peak of the 9, and then whatever of the 10, but the turnaround of the 10. But either way, we're on the 4 at the minute, so we can all relax, can't we? From a relationship point of view, well, maybe contentment in the sense of luxury, maybe meeting somebody else but not quite but not quite committed to them, so it's all new and one doesn't have to worry about being in the relationship and knowing what they're like and what they've been like for however long you've been with them and what have you. Maybe this could be a new relationship coming up here. You say you're at a crossroads, and you are at a crossroads with the Lord of Change. There is a touch of cryptic. There's a sort of cryptic feel to it, isn't there? A mysterious sort of feel as you transition, you transit from one to another, as your surroundings undergo transition in some way. But nevertheless, the yin and the yang, you have to accept the darkness if you want the light, and of course, if you want to get rid of the darkness, you've got to know what it is and accept it, and sort of accept the light either way. Sorry, that's just me on a rant. I don't know what I'm talking about. Back to this. Of course, from, as you could say, from the recent, or recently, from recently wanting a deeper spiritual encounter with your relationship, only to discover, yes, there is darkness behind you. The light shines in front, but yeah, there is darkness behind you, and the light does dissipate into the darkness through the corridors of time. Nevertheless, through to the now where things are changing. You've got power over the change, and you've got power over the emotional squaring out, as you could call it. I suppose you could call a Four of Cups the emotional squaring out card, couldn't you? To some degree, the Lord of Luxury. But nevertheless, maybe luxury in that sense, the luxury of meeting somebody but not quite knowing what they're like. Now, is that a luxury, or is that a bit of a warning, or what is it? Well, I've got the luxury of not actually knowing that you cheated on your wife. I didn't even know you were married. Or I've got the luxury of this is the innocence, isn't it? And of course, with all innocence, you can release yourself from guilt and shame until, of course, from before wanting a deeper spiritual thing, to now you just want your emotions to be satisfied. I'll satisfy. I'm happy with anybody who just satisfies my emotions, brings some sort of luxury into my life, in the sense of squares out my emotions and makes it so I'm not so down. I wouldn't go as far as saying you were suicidal or anything like that, because there's no sign of that there, but in the sense of, shouldn't really laugh about that, but just a nervous laugh maybe, but more in the sense of, yes, you were feeling as though you were being, well, I suppose you could call it abuse if you wanted to be melodramatic, but certainly psychologically controlled in some way, or if it's your fault or your responsibility, but if it's your fault, then certainly not getting one's own way, in the sense of not getting the spiritual encounter that one wanted. And as I said, originally I just suddenly thought, as soon as it came out, shit, he's a religious nutcase, and thinking she's a bloody witch and he's been making her life hell and all this. But at the end of the day, I think this really symbolises you after the light from the higher level of existence. But nevertheless, I'm focusing on that darkness in the background there of the relationship to say, yes, you're looking at the light, young lady. You were looking at the light, young lady. But you're looking at the darkness behind you. Well, you haven't got eyes in the back of your head. He saw the darkness behind you. He saw maybe the dark side in you. You see, now this is where we have to be careful, because we're opening into something a bit maybe that we don't want to open up into. But maybe he saw the dark side because he was the one projecting the light, and he saw the darkness that was behind you. behind you, in the sense of, I can see what's behind this. I can see what's behind you. I know what your intentions are. Is this the sort of accusation? Now, I'm not saying that that is literally in that sense true. It could be. We always have to bear in mind there's the possibility. And where there's the possibility, there is the probability. But nevertheless, from a realistic point of view, where there's accusations of that, maybe you started believing what he was telling you. Maybe you thought there was a dark side to yourself. You were after a deeper spiritual level, but something inside was saying, all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. And I can't be that perfect, can I? It's nice to think that I can stand outside the temple and say, Lord, I thank you that I'm not like that sinner over there. But nevertheless, maybe I should be saying, Lord, forgive me, for I'm a sinner. You see, there's two ways of viewing it, isn't there? And this is the thing. If you are grateful to not be like that sinner who's talking to you right now, or as was then, and that sinner was the devil is the accuser. It says the devil is the accuser, and if he was accusing you of this and that, I can see the darkness behind you. You've not got eyes in your head. You're just looking at the light. You're looking at the good. You're expecting the spiritual side, the deeper side. Well, I can tell you the dark side, which is the deeper side. The dark side is the shadow, which is your true self, or that part of you that you must come to terms with and heal. And I'm mentioning that. And look at the masks there, the faces, in the corners there, as if they watch. We know that they're symbolic of something deeper, but just looking out in the darkness, the faces look back. Although you haven't got eyes in the back of your head, there are faces there that stare at your rear. We all have spirit guides. We have 4 spirit guardians, don't we? That guard the left, the right, the rear, and the front. But maybe that's what they represent. I don't know. I haven't gone into such a great detail. I'll have to get the book out. This is where we've got to get the books out again. We've been doing tarot for over 33 years, and we've still got to get the book out. It's annoying, isn't it? But don't worry, maybe that's where I have to admit guilt as well. Notice, of course, there's darkness surrounding that right now. The yin and the yang, though, there's the darkness yet, yet the light above. And yet within the light there is darkness, within the darkness there is light. There is still hope, and well, there's no hope, and there's still a speck of accusation where there is possible perfection. Just when you've got it right, somebody points the finger. But of course, with every one finger that points, there are 3 fingers pointing back, aren't there? This is the thing. For as much as he recently may have been saying this and that to you, while I can see the darkness behind you, the faces there in the darkness look back at his dark side as well and see his darkness. For as much as he tries to shine the light on you, they look back from the darkness, but he can't see them, because the light is shining and then they are deep within the darkness. He can't see them there because he's too focused. And maybe that's what has split it up, in the sense the accusations were too many. The nagging, as you could call it. He was a bit like a nagging wife. Sometimes say nagging wife and nagging mother or whatever. In the sense, he was the nagging mother half. It can happen that way, can't it? But either way, the change is here now. The main thing is, we can't really define ourselves by what we were guilty of or whatever, of what happened then. We can only define ourselves by what's happening now, in the sense of what we're doing now. What we did then that's the past. We can learn from it. We can grow, and how spiritually, maybe you can grow spiritually even now as you change. The cryptic messages are there still, that you can still work out the mystery too. As the snake or the serpent sheds its skin right now, means there's notice the serpent's looking that way to the future as well. I don't know why I focused on that. Maybe there is a future. Maybe there is the luxury of squaring out your emotions again, instead of feeling so down and so depressed because of the nagging or the being got at all the time. And sort of nearly believing that you are worthless. You didn't scrub the floor right, scrub it again. You're beginning to feel that you should have had to have scrubbed it again. But it's that sort of thing, isn't it? And the cloud that hangs over you now, and the luxury of squaring out your emotions, maybe that, in the sense of, as I said, yes, there's the framework there. Yes, I know this is symbolic of other things, but just looking at it, yes, there is the framework of a new relationship between now and next month, even maybe a rekindling of the old, I don't know. But either way, you have the luxury, or you will have the luxury between now and the next new moon. What happens after that, I don't know. But you'll certainly have the luxury of, as I said, of not knowing what the new one is like, just like you didn't know what he was like, but now do. And this is what it's about, isn't it? It's that cycle. But is this a pattern that's going on in you, and it repeats, and it's literally a cycle that you've got to break, isn't it? It's very enlightening, but nevertheless very disturbing, and yet there is a touch of hope, in the sense there's a new relationship round the corner, that you can have somebody else say, yes, you are worth loving, and tra-la-la-la-la, till I discover your worthlessness, till I discover that I've got somebody to get at, because well, not bored, but certainly I've got somebody to control, to make me feel good, because or whatever, I don't know. Are you attracted to these sort of people, or is this a genuine relationship where there is the framework for a balance and the balancing out of emotions and having the luxury of not knowing? Is that the luxury, of course, of better things to come? Remember we said that the two of coins and the four of cups there, or the two of discs and the four of cups, they are two minor arcana cards. The major arcana, you had no power to change major arcana energies. The major arcana energy in your recent past, you had not much power to change, if at all. You had to you had to, I suppose, work with the magic that was going on then. You just had to do that. But nevertheless, is the high priest, is the hierophant there to provide some sort of mentor in some way? Was he there as a mentor? Were you looking for somebody to look up to, and he did look up to you, and he told you the truth, and you didn't like it? You were looking for a sage, and he gave you the wisdom, and he looked at you, and you wanted him to tell you about the good things he could see, when he told you about the darkness that he could see. And now the change comes because you're at a crossroads, in the sense of you can't take him telling you this anymore, and you've got to move on, and you've got to shed your skin and regenerate, and by that your emotions will square out, You will have the luxury of not knowing the next person who's lined up for you, if there is. Or do you decide to square out your emotions between now and the next new moon? Do you come to some decision where you live in solitude? The framework is therefore a squaring out of the emotions to live in luxury, the luxury of not having somebody get at you, the luxury of being able to ask somebody what they think of you but not have them on your back for the rest of your life telling you and giving you the answer day in, day out. What is it? What is this? It's all very, you asked the question, didn't you? You asked the question, Cody, and you must be prepared for an answer. I don't know about the answer, but you must be prepared for an answer. And if Spirit is there providing you with the answer, maybe the answer is many answers. Maybe the answer is another question for you to answer. But either way, Cody, you must bear that in mind. But for now, we will close the setting, and maybe if drawn again, we can look again at what happens next. But you have control over what happens now, and you have control of what happens next. You have control over the change that's taking place, and you have control over the squaring out of emotions that will come. You have control over what you do with those, where you go from there. But that is your choice. It's not my decision, it's your decision. Just remember that you always have a choice. For now, Cody Hes, these cards have spoken.